anywhere.
Good morning, and I'd like to call the Wall Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing for rezoning. Meeting together today on June 27th, 2025. With that being said, could you please call roll call, Carolyn?
Dinger,
Here.
Bissette,
Here.
Keiser,
Here.
McMillan,
Here.
Stone.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, with that being said, let us stand and say the pledge of allegiance. Ryan, read that first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That being said, this morning we need to start with the oaths of office for Ryan and Chris, who weren't able to be at the city council meeting a short time ago. And so with that, then, if you would, Ryan and Chris stand together. Yeah. Repeat your oath of office, putting your word in the right place.
Okay. I, Ryan Dinger, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of South Dakota, the ordinance of the City of Wall, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Planning Commission for the City of Wall, Pennington County, to the best of my ability.
I, Chris Bissette, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, the ordinances of the City of Wall, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commission for the City of Wall, Pennington County, to the best of my ability.
Thank you, John. Okay, now that we are all officially part of the planning and zoning, that leads us to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of officers. And we need a chairperson and a vice chair. And so with that, would I have a nomination for chairperson?
I'll nominate Chris Bissette.
Is there a second for that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other nominations? Is there a nomination then for unanimous ballot? A motion for unanimous ballot?
Yes.
Okay, Lily has moved for unanimous ballot for Chris Bissette. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we also need a vice chair. Would I have a motion for a vice chair?
Make a motion for Lillian.
Okay, there's been a motion for Lilia Stone to be vice chair. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Chris seconds that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there any other nominations? Would I have a motion then for unanimous ballot for Lily Stone?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries. So at this point, Chris, if you would like to take the meeting order over, the next item would be to adopt the commission rules that were presented at the work session recent, and you've had those in your possession to review, and they were sent out in your packet. And it discusses what the duties of the officers are, including the administrative official and the court, what's necessary for a quorum, that the meetings will be held as needed, that there can be work sessions to discuss specific policies, regulations, or conduct training. The attendance, any member that is absent from 25% of the meetings in a calendar year, or 3 consecutive meetings without justifiable cause. It would be recommended for the mayor to reappoint, and that Members of the planning commission shall participate in the voting upon or recommendation to the city council in any matter which the member has a potential personal or pecuniary interest. They need to disclose that as a conflict of interest. So, Chris, I will turn that over to you to request a adoption or discussion of those commission roles.
So we just need a motion to accept those or to adopt those.
Correct. Or if anybody has any concerns, whatever they need to disclose at this.
I'll make a motion to adopt commission rules.
Second that. We have a motion that's been seconded. Is there any discussion on these? Hearing no discussion. We will vote all in favor of adopting the commission rules. Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Aye.
And then we have an introduction of rezone request.
And that's in your packet and in front of you.
Well,
Well,
not what I
oh,
I was told that I should explain to them what this is all about.
please do so. Please do.
So, and since we're new to this, not saying that at some point in time, another member of the commission could do this, but this is all kind of new, so kind of know what it is, and that's why I'm taking this role, so. So we have 5 zones in Wall.
Could you stand so the people in the back could hear you?
Yeah, sorry.
Easier.
So we have 5 zones in Wall: residential, commercial, highway commercial, industrial, and ag. Each zone has a permitted use, and if they are listed under this category and comply with the setbacks and heights, they are approved and they move forward. A conditional use may be required to have a condition put on the request to be approved. As an example, if someone wanted to have a small engine business in their garage, the condition that would be put on them may be to require them to only have open hours so as not to disturb their neighbors. And prohibited use, if it's not listed in the permitted or conditional, it's not permitted at all. So in front of us, the request now is for a rezone because John Dietrichs is wanting to put up more bins on his currently zoned commercial lot. He has some bins over there prior, but since we did the new zoning ordinance, that has placed bins to only be conditional use in a highway commercial zone. So that is the need for the rezone request. If the rezone request is approved, it will not become effective until 20 days following the publication that will be in the paper. The building permit request would then need to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission because it needs a variance on the height. They're 53 feet and our ordinance only requires 24. So that requires the Planning and Zoning to meet again on that. The FAA has given approval for the height of this regulation dealing with the flight zone for the airport, but the variance would be required on the building permit from the city of Wall. So just to give you kind of a history of what this is all about and how the process will work, then you can move forward with what you were going to start with, Chris. I just wanted to explain things of why this came before you, because it is currently zoned commercial and needs to be changed to highway commercial, if that's your wishes.
So even with the highway commercial, it would still need to have a variance
Because of the height.
because of the height.
So just for my understanding then, this document that's in front of them right now is an application for a variation of the zoning ordinance. It's been requested to make it highway, commercial,
Right,
and it's been completed and submitted by John Dietrich.
right. And also included is a copy of, as required, that he is owner of this property. And then, the location, a map of the location, which he has included. And then the document from the FAA that they have passed their review of it, so.
So with that introduction then, and an understanding of that, is this the time then that Chris should move to a public comment
Yes.
portion? And then come back and request a motion, to address this application?
Are there any public comments regarding the rezone request?
Yeah, I have a question, and maybe John could answer this. What are the heights of the present bins?
53 feet,
Same
exactly
thing.
the same.
Awesome.
Yep.
No other comments?
I have one too, with switching over to the highway commercial, I think that it should be looked at to allow for more people to switch to highway commercial if they want to, if they're located on a state or county highway. Then they could rezone to highway commercial if they wanted to.
Any other comments?
I have just a question related to that, but so like Dakota Mill where they have grain bins, they aren't on a highway. I assume that they, say they build another huge bin, but they, I presume have to go through the same routes.
I think they would, yeah. I think what's there is probably grandfathered in since it was there before the new, adopting the new zoning rules. Yeah, I would think they would have to go through the same process.
So are you selling grain there, or is it just private storage?
It's just private storage. Yep, same as what they're used for.
So- Yeah, I think agriculture would be what it would need there, if you're not selling and commercializing anything for business purposes, but maybe.
Ag doesn't allow green bins.
Right, so we have our commercial business there and we rezoned from.
I mean, from a tax standpoint, it's been, yeah, because ag land would be a lot cheaper to have grain bins on than commercial from your standpoint, but.
Yeah, that ground was originally ag and then it was zoned to commercial so that we could have our business there. And what we've already got built. And then when all the new ordinances went through, they changed how that language read. So that's why we're just having to rezone to do the same thing that we were doing in the past, but under new regulations.
Just trying to save you money.
Appreciate it.
So then Carolyn, will the variation have to be addressed at another future meeting?
Yes, it's state statute that we have to wait the 20 days after the publication before the rezone is official. And so he can't ask for a building permit on a commercial property. It has to be the highway commercial. So that's why we have to wait for that 20-day time frame.
And you would, so after, if they go ahead and approve this and the city council approves that, you will be able to advertise that. And in how many days? It's 20, correct?
Well, I would think I could start setting up a meeting that would fall past that 20-day time frame. So like the 21st day or whatever. Because it would be official at that time and then they can address that building permit. I don't think we'd have to wait until to set the meeting up because it takes time to get that publication to go through the paper and all that. So I would start working on getting another meeting set up at this time, but it'll have to be after the 20-day time frame.
Any other public comments? I guess to me, it seems like this has already basically been approved for him to use that property for what he's asking to use it for in the past, and it's just because we adopted our new ordinances that it, needs to be reclassified a little bit to fall within the new rules that we just established, so. I don't think there's really much of a change from what's previously been acceptable over there, but we can move forward. Is there a motion on the rezone request?
I'll make a motion
Second that. What's your motion?
to approve the zoning request from John Dietrich.
We have a motion, it's been seconded to approve the rezone request that John Dietrich has requested. All in favor, say
Aye.
all opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Is there anything else that we have before we adjourn? So Carolyn, you'll start working on
I'll start
the
reaching to you
variance.
guys
We'll
and
have another meeting to discuss that.
correct.
Perfect. We have a motion to adjourn.
move.
Second. We are adjourned. Why do I not like that? Jeff. What you, that's great. Who wants to see you?
I'd like to call the Wall City Council special meeting of June 27th, 2025 to order. Carolyn, would you please call roll?
Stan Anderson.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Houston.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Hawk.
Here.
Mike Anderson.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
We do have a form.
Okay, let us stand and say the pledge of allegiance. Yeah, you lead us.
Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, with that, we have a need for the introduction of the rezone request. Would you like to reiterate that, Carolyn, for meeting for?
And the purpose would be if anybody new would come at this meeting, they would need to stand to hear it again, so sorry for the redundancy, but. So we have 5 zones in our town. They're residential, commercial, highway commercial, industrial, and ag. And each zone has permitted use, which if they are listed under this category and comply with the setbacks and heights, they're approved and they move forward. The conditional use, it may be required to have a condition put on the request to be approved. Example would be if someone wanted a small engine business in their garage, they may be required to be open certain hours as to not disturb the neighbors. And prohibited use, if it's not listed in the permitted or conditional use, it is not permitted at all. So before us is a request to rezone for some grain bins that there are prior bins on, which was allowed in commercial zoning. After the new zoning ordinance, it placed bins in highway commercial zone under conditional use. So that is the need for the rezone request. If the rezone request is approved, it will not become effective until 20 days following the publication. The building permit request would then need to come before the Planning and Zoning Commission because it will need a variance on the height. Ordinance limits heights in wall to be 24 feet, and these bins are 53, same as the existing bins. The FAA has given approval on the height of their regulations dealing with the flight zone for the airport, but a variance will be required on the building permit for walls ordinances. This will require another publication and meeting.
That is such a efficient document. I was wondering if you'd provide a copy of that to each of the commission members as well as the council for future review. Okay, so are there any public comments then at this time regarding the zoning request that's in front of us? Okay, hearing and seeing none. There has been a approval of the planning and zoning the planning and zoning recommendation on this zone request is to approve. And so with that, being said, is there a motion for that rezone request?
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Zach, seconded by Stan to, approve the zoning request. Any discussion, questions, comments?
I have just a quick one. Why is it that we have a 24-foot height up outside of Main Street? What is the reasoning for that?
Well, it has to do with the fire department.
Yeah, that was originally just for fire.
Right.
But there
Mainly
was
for-
living quarters and.
Yeah, but mainly for like, buildings that would be occupied because they don't have anything that'll reach that high. That was my understanding of what the original purpose of it was.
You know, there can be changes made, but when we were redoing the zoning, we were just. I mean, it was a lengthy time doing that, and we were just kind of going by what was in place on some things and what we had to follow by state statute. And, you know, she had said at that time that if we found there was a need to make changes to make it a workable thing, that can be considered, so.
So we can opt out of that 24 pretty much.
For, yeah,
I
non-living
understand
quarter
it's some
structures,
living, or living quarters.
Occupied.
you'd wanna consider, you know, how it was worded and stuff for that reason. So,
Okay, are there any other questions or discussion? Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor to approve this rezone request. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So also part of that approval would be that resolution, which I thought I included in here, yeah. So for documentation, you need to approve the resolution 2503, which is verbiage on the official rezone.
Carolyn, you need a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
For, and what is the number of it?
25. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution 2503. Is there any other discussion or questions? And that was included in the packet, correct? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda then is a need for executive session.
I make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing legal personnel issues regarding the SDCL 1-25-2. Parentheses.
Front, personnel, one, and contacts.
You're right. 1 and 6.
Okay, I call us out of executive session. Next on the agenda is action following executive session. Does anyone have any action at this point? Seeing none, I call the meeting adjourned.